ladies and gentlemen, my name's Jeff Beggins. I'm one of the brokers here locally here at C21 Beggins up the road. Live out here on the beach, going through the same stuff everybody's going through right now. And part of that is we all have a ton of questions. We all have a ton of issues. And we've got a panel put together to go through all of the issues that we're going through right now, the questions we have right now. We're going to have a Q&A panel on that. We have quite a few. We've got our, where's Commissioner Hope? Wyatt, right behind me right here. So we've got representation right here from the city. We've got our insurance expert right here, Nate from State Farm, believe it or not, right? Which is good. We've got our resident architect, Jack Boziak, to answer all the questions about what really needs to happen next along the way. And we've got our favorite mortgage people, Beachline Mortgage. We've got Mike and Kim from...
Right here.
A little louder? In the back there?
Right here.
Very good. And then we have Tom Abraham from Abraham and Sweeney Law Firm, which you're going to see how all of these people play in to kind of where we're going right now. And we have Kathy McKinnon, who is here with Paramount Title, who helped put this whole thing together. So thank you for everybody for showing up tonight. So let's give everybody a round of applause for that. And we are broadcasting this. This is live on Facebook, and we'll put on YouTube tomorrow too, so you can go back and revisit and share with people who weren't able to be here right now. So let's talk about the biggest issues that we're facing right now is, well, we have a lot of issues we're facing right now. The issue is, what do we do? Can we rebuild? Should we rebuild? What's the process to rebuild, and what do we do? And then, whichever path that takes, if we're gonna rebuild, how do we find the money to rebuild? What's the process to rebuild? Could we raise our house up? Could we flood-proof our house? Can we fix it up? All the questions we have, we're gonna kind of get right to them. So let's start with the city report. You're first. I've learned a lot. I spend a lot of time developing properties up and down the beaches and been way deep in Madeira Beach, especially because we got hit as hard as everybody, but some places a little bit harder. And some of the things I've learned over the last few days aren't good, right? And so I'll just say the things I understand, and we can kind of confirm, because nobody really knows, nobody's been here before, so we're all navigating this together. So as we all sit here with wet homes and drywall cut out, some not cut out, some are cut out, and the question is, what do we do? Are we able to rebuild our home? When are we going to know? How's the inspections going to happen? What's the 50% rule? Where is it? And what do we do about that? Those are the major questions right now. So there was a session 2 nights ago in Treasure Island. There's a session last night in Madeira Beach, all about the 50% rule. And if I have a free and clear home and I don't have flood insurance, I don't need to pay attention to any of this stuff. I'm just going to fix my house. Myth? Yes, right? Because the cities did what the cities are supposed to do, and they did the things to try to help us all. And when they went to their FEMA rules back and forth, FEMA says, hey, if you guys get hurt, we're here to protect you. We're going to come clean up. We're going to reimburse your... Back in the back, I can't hear. Back in the back, can't? Here, I can't. I can talk a little louder, but not a whole lot louder. Is that better? Yes. So, or adjust the mic a little bit.
Keep talking.
What's that? Keep talking, keep talking. Is that a little better, a little better? It's okay? Okay, good. So the question is, so FEMA is designed to save people in the amount of a disaster and help cities, because do you have an idea about what is the cleanup bill that you think going to be from this storm alone and just Indian Rocks Beach alone? Millions and millions and millions of dollars. Does the city just sitting on millions and millions and millions of dollars? Not exactly, right? So what they did was they said, all right, FEMA, we want you here. And this is important to know, because a lot of times the cities are getting a bad rap, and it's not their fault for a lot of the delays that are coming. So FEMA said, I'll be there to protect you. We'll be there to clean up. We'll be there to reimburse you. But we want a couple things in return. So one of the things in return is when you do have a damage, you have to follow these processes. Anything over $500 needs to get a permit. Everything needs to be inspected, right? We have to go through the inspections on every single property. They've got to go check this list. And if you don't do the right things on that checklist, guess what happens? They don't pay the millions and millions and millions of dollars, and you're left cold on the side of the road, and then everyone's property taxes are going to go crazy because we don't have the money to afford it. So the FEMA is a necessary evil. The deals were made. It's not able to be unmade for this particular storm that we're in, so we all have to together figure out what we're going to do. We're in it, right? And we have to deal with what we have to deal with. Does that make sense? So nobody can change what happened. Now, I guess the commissions are all going to have decisions to make whether to stay with the FEMA protections going forward, right? And there's pros and cons to all that, but that's not what we'll talk about here tonight. But right now, we're in a situation where we got these impacts, and we have to do what we have to do. You've got the 50% rule that we have to deal with here, and let's talk about that specifically for a couple seconds. From an insurance perspective, from a repair perspective, and from a contractor perspective, what's going to happen there? So do you want to say a few words about how that is coming into place? She says, oh good, a phone call came in. I don't have to answer that question.
Are we ready?
Yep.
I'm not going to be able to talk as loud as this guy probably. I think you pretty much covered it from what I found out. By the way, Hope Wyant, City Commissioner. Nice to see you all. I did as much research as I could today about that 50-50 rule. From my understanding before today, the 50-50 rule wasn't going to include things like drywall and stuff like that. So whenever I went to the City Commission today, Greg isn't there, so I got my information from Dan and the other people in the office. It is going to be incorporated in the 50% rule, and that is governed by FEMA at this point. And you're going to have to get permits to be able to do that. So I thought that maybe you could replace the drywall. You're not enhancing anything. You're just repairing what was already there. That's not the case. They want you to get a permit through the Pinellas County. You have to first call Hetty. She's at our office, so you're going to call Hetty. You're going to get the approval from her. She's going to do what she needs to do. Then you're going to contact the Pinellas County. Pinellas County is going to send out an inspector, and you're going to get a sheet, and that's your beginning construction project, and then they'll have to sign off on its completion. So that's what I learned today as far as that 50-50 rule.
Okay. So let's add on to that a little bit, because from what I know, it's worse than that, right? So if anybody call ServPro or any of the restoration companies involved? Yeah. Yes, that bill is going to go towards your 50% rule. Anybody cut your drywall out thinking that you're going to save money and do it yourself? That's not going to work either, because there's going to be an application for the dollars per square foot that you would have paid for somebody else. That's going to be applied to your 50% rule, right? If you did it yourself, right? Everything's going to count towards this, because that's what FEMA's going to do. So you can't have your contractor buddy come over and say he's going to charge you $1 a foot or donate his time. Doesn't matter. There's Xactimate software that they're going to go through, FEMA's going to go through, that's going to say, I don't care who did what. This is the going rate for a renovation, and this is going to calculate your 50% rule. If you're below that 50% rule, you can renovate your home. If you're over that 50% rule, you cannot renovate your home. Right? That's the ugly truth of this, that we all have to come to terms with about that, right? So think about that for a second. Now, something else I learned last night is there's a number that's being floated around right now from FEMA, because think about how long it's going to take a FEMA inspector or a team of FEMA inspectors. They have to go to every single house in the entire city per their agreement with FEMA, every single house. So if you've already done your drywall quietly, secretly, of course nobody here ever did that, you're going to get busted, and you're going to probably have to take it out, and you're going to have to go pay whatever penalties they're going to come up with along the way. It's not that the city wants that to happen, it's a physical requirement from FEMA, right? In order to keep the flood rates lower, which is what the commissions did to every city. So we all have to understand that that number is not negotiable. It's not up to the city. It's not up to anybody else. It's a harsh reality of what we're all fitting with. So one of the things I heard yesterday is there's a number of $205 a square foot. Anybody heard that one yet? So $205 a square foot is the number that they're floating right now, universally across the board. So if you have a home that's 1,000 square feet, they're going to say that it's going to take $205,000 to renovate your home, right? So it's a moving target, and we've got the luxury of having, I've got a bunch of Section 21 offices around the state, and I've got a lot of people in Fort Myers Beach, and they're 2 years out of this, right? They had Ian hit them about 2 years ago, so I've got the benefit of learning what they went through over the last 2 years, and it's still a moving target across the board, but the FEMA issue is a big issue that we're all going to have to deal with. And the unfortunate truths are, and I'm not the guy to I'm not here to bring bad news. I'm here to bring reality so we can think about it, because you got to figure out what you want to do. So a couple things, I'm going to go to some of the other experts. If you think you're going to be borderline and you have a concrete block home and you think you're going to be able to renovate it and you want to renovate it, there's a certain path that we want to take, right? And that path's going to be to get that number up as high as humanly possible so you have a good shot to be under that 50% rule to be able to put your house back together. Now, notice the words, a good shot. What the 50% rule is, yes. So your house is worth, you have a waterfront house. It's worth $1 million, right? The house isn't worth $1 million. The land is worth about 800, and the house is worth about 200. Now, to get the exact numbers, you go to the pcpao.org website, Pinellas County Property Appraisers website, and there's a FEMA letter number. You click that button under Tools, and we'll walk you through that if you want help. And a letter will pop up that actually says, congratulations, your number is $87,243.12. That's your number. And if your cost to renovate, according to their spreadsheet, is higher than that, you can't renovate your home. You can't no. Right? What is, I'll speak just out of my theory. What is FEMA's ultimate goal? They want all the houses out of harm's way. They want not spend $200 billion on cleanup, and they don't want anybody to die, right? So they want all the homes raised up. So they're going to make it difficult to do this. So we have to think about this one. So one last thing, and then I'll bring you up to talk from a contractor perspective, is there's two paths. So if you want to renovate your home, you don't want that number low. Because if you go to the Pinellas County Property Appraiser site, that number is low, right? And it's not a number you're going to want to see. And if you sit there and wait for that number to be the number that the inspectors are going to use, you're not going to like their answer. Now you can still go and appeal, but now you're back in the back of the queue, and you're going to be months and months and months down the road until they're going to get back to you. So proactively, what you want to do now is get a actual cash value appraisal on your property. It's a special certified appraisal done by somebody who knows what they're doing with FEMA, and you're going to have to pay them. It's probably $800, $1,000 now, because people are just gouging left and right. They're not gouging, it's supply and demand. But by the time you got to get that appraisal, so I highly recommend, if you think you're going to be on the borderline and can fix your home and want to fix the home, get an actual cash value appraisal. So when the inspectors come out, you give that to them, and now they don't have to go through that software anymore. They can use that certified appraisal as the value of your property that you can do that with. What's they could still use it. A couple things. So at the meeting last night in Madeira, they were saying that yes, your taxes could increase, right? They will increase. They're saying that they will, but a lot of times they haven't. But I would say you just assume they're going to go up. So you're going to take your appraised value, that's what you're being taxed on right now, and you're going to argue that, please no, my value is higher. They're going to say, okay, here's your tax bill for the next tax season. So, but that's all right. But now you can have a new home. You have a home. You saved your home. You pay a little bit more taxes. It's a fair trade-off on that one.
I did go to the...
Here, come over here. Yes.
We did go to a meeting that was out at...
Can you tell us who you are?
I'm
Yep.
Kim Schneider from Beachside Mortgage, sorry. But I went to a meeting where Mike Tweedy spoke from the Pinellas County Appraiser's Office, okay? And there is a thing called Save Our Homes, and it's a calamity provision that's inside this that doesn't necessarily make you raise your property taxes just because you renovate. That what happens is if you have to rebuild, and if you decide to increase the square footage, the amount that you increase that square footage is going to be taxed at the higher rate. And you have to stay under 110% of the actual square footage. So let's just decide you're at 1,000 square feet, you want to build it to 1,100 square feet. That 100 square feet is what's going to be taxed at the higher value, but the 1,000 will stay at your current value. It's called Save Our Homes. It's a calamity provision that Pinellas County had done. So it won't be so bad, okay, if you have to rebuild.
Right.
And I'll give that back to you.
No, perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. So this is real important, right? The strategy here is going to be important. So if you want to be able to renovate your house, put the drywall back, put it back into and keep your one-story home. They're only going to let you keep your one-story home if you're under that 50% number, right? So that's just an important thing. So if you let that number be low, you're really running a major risk that that number is going to come in higher than that number, and you're going to have a major problem trying to rebuild your one-story home, for one-level home, right? So that's just it. So if you're on the other side of the fence, if we have people in every situation here, then you say, I'm done. I don't want a one-level home anymore, right? So then you may not want your appraised value to go higher because it's going to be simpler for you to get that higher number, which allows you not to rebuild. And then now your goal is to get the biggest insurance check you could possibly get that you can now apply to your new house, right? So you got to think about which strategy you're in and which path you want to walk down, because there's two completely different paths you're going to go down. Does that make sense on that one? And then then the third path, before we get into some other ones, because it's relevant too, is there's going to be some situations where people bought their homes more recently, right? I have a good example of one just a little further south here. They bought their house. It was a little bungalow, and it was a 2-bedroom, cute little house. Paid $550 for it, and it's a wood frame house, cute as can be. We know we have a lot of them around, not as many as we used to, but we have a lot of them. And what's going to happen to that particular person is not good, because the 50% number is extremely low. They've clearly exceeded it, and now they have a big mortgage, right? They still have almost a $500,000 mortgage on a piece of dirt that's worth about $250,000, maybe $300,000. So they're going to be upside down a couple $100,000 without the ability to put that home back, right? So that's why we'll get to in a little while. We'll have Tom Abraham come up about what happens then, because unfortunately some of us are going to find ourselves in that position, and we don't want to see you get in trouble. We want to be able to negotiate that down to be as less painful as possible there. What? Hey, hang on real quick, because I want to get through a couple of these, and then we'll do a little bit of Q&As on this one. So take control over there. All right, so first process. Let's say you want to try to renovate your home, get that number as high as you can, and cross your fingers and hope that it comes in below that 50% number. That's your goal. That's it. That's the end of the goal, right? That's it. There's nothing else to say about that path, right? Now, there's other loans you can get to, but you're not going to be able to, right? You're not going to talk about rebuilding a home. You're going to talk about just fixing it. Now, let's talk about options to rebuild. You're over the 50% number. Your options are take the house down, rebuild a new one. Options are pick the house up, pick the old house up, right? So those are the options there. I'll just tell you from personal experiences, and you could probably elaborate a little bit more, I haven't really seen that done well, the picking up the old house scenario. I've never seen it done effectively, cost effectively, where anybody's happy at the end of the day. I see it costing about double, more than double the costs that were actually asked or promised, and it's taken 2 or 3 times as long to actually do it. I'm just telling you that from personal experience, and then it costs a lot of money. So I think the path of raising it, in my personal opinion, is not worth the aggravation. It's certainly worth exploring if you want to, but just when you pick it up, you now have an old house that's up high, that's still not a hurricane code. You have old windows, you have old electrical, you have old plumbing, you have old concrete, you have old roofs, you have old shingles. It's just higher up, right? So that's not really accomplishing the safety goal, and it's going to spend a lot of money. So let's talk about how we're going to the process of rebuilding, right? And then the first steps about rebuilding is you're going to call a builder, contractor, who's going to come up in a minute. You're going to say, how much is it going to cost to build me a house? Right? You ever hear that question? Yeah. And the answer is, what house? Right? Because you can go nuts, you can go crazy, you can go cheap, you can go wood, you can go block, you can go steel, you can go frame, you can go aluminum, you can go metal, you can go shingle, you can go high end, you can go low end, you can go mid end. So the answer is it depends. So the first steps you want to do to figure this out is, do I want to rebuild? Am I going to have to rebuild? And then do I have the finances to rebuild? And then we'll talk about finances in a minute. But one of the first things that you do is you're going to have to get a survey, right? So Jack, come up here for a second, because I want to talk about this process. Because Jack Boziak is a friend and architect who's been working out here forever. 1968, right? We've been working together 25 years on different projects and houses along the way. So do you want to go through the steps that have to go through before you can even talk to the contractor about what are you going to be able to build? From a survey and creative side, go ahead and take this.
Well, I think unfortunately, depending on what the scope of your work
Hold
is,
that close if you will.
if you're lucky,
No, I'm
the
good.
survey
Thank you.
won't be as big of a factor,
Thank you.
but the survey is going to be really a big help in establishing with the city your floor elevations and the conditions that surround your house, setbacks, what your height is, and what your ability is. I think one of the key elements, though, that Jeff mentioned that I would encourage everybody in here to do first is to get a realistic idea of what is in the tax assessor's office for your value. That little move of going in there and pushing the button that says, FEMA balance is really important because you can't beat that. That is a really tough one to beat if you happen to be. Some jurisdictions do not allow you to exceed that under any circumstances. There are varying degrees of levels of enforcement that the certain cities take. Some are more lenient, some are not. But in some cities, you can't go over that number no matter what. Okay, all right. In some cities, you just can't even budge past that number. Now, the appraisal end of this does enable you to get a higher value to work with your construction at, but it's always going to be 50% of either the appraisal value that's in the tax assessor's office under that, once you hit that FEMA button, or it's going to be 50% of the appraised value. Now, some jurisdictions also are not allowing you to come in after the fact and get an appraisal. So it varies. You've got to really understand the regulations. The second process that I think you need to know, you're probably going to need a new survey to establish not just what you think and what's in the general information available at the county records. I think you're going to have to go out and try to get a new survey that establishes your not just your floodplain that you're in, but the exact corners of the house and the elevation of your lowest habitable level. So a survey is a pretty important piece if you're considering either remodeling or even if you're considering rebuilding. You know, the next thing is to get somebody in who's a good consultant, because Jeff managed raising your house. Well, I agree with Jeff. I have never seen what I would consider to be a bargain in raising and elevating an existing house. It's a really rugged road to go. And like I spoke to somebody the other day where they had a $400,000 estimate to raise about a 2,000 square foot house. And just looking at the house, I could tell you, if it's a slab on grade with thickened edge, it's going to go through a lot more damage. And they always have you sign a warranty that, oh, if you elevate this house and if it cracks a lot, we're not responsible for that. We're just elevating the house. You get an architect to tell you that we should be doing it or shouldn't be doing it. So I think that's a very tricky path to go down. I agree with Jeff. I've seen very few successful elevations of houses. The next possibility, we're doing a house right now for somebody in North St. Pete where they have a masonry one-story building. Well, what we're doing there is we gutted the masonry one-story building, maintained the outside walls for the elevation to go up. If you have good masonry walls, you can do that. That's the second option. But to go through the process, which I'm supposed to really tell you about, first thing is get a survey. Second thing is be sure that you properly evaluate with a contractor you can trust, and that's a really important thing. Is when I'll tell you a quick story about one from the Fort Myers hurricane. I developed a property and designed a property on the north end of Boca Grande 42 years ago, and it's a bunch of townhouses. And the people, as usual, when you have a hurricane area like this, you're going to get a lot of out-of-town contractors coming in. Check them out really close. These people had 40 units down there. They brought in an outside contractor from Michigan. The guy got $1.6 million from their insurance company. 3 weeks later, he disappeared. So make sure that if you go to somebody coming in from out of town especially, you check them out really closely. They're here for a reason, to make a lot of money, quick. The second thing that happened to them was they said, well, we're going to put the roofs on, the metal roofs on, the 40 units, and at least we're going to dry everything in. They did that. Second thing that happened to them was the building official came out and said to the contractor, would you read to me what it says on this box? And the contractor read it. It said, do not use within 1,500 foot of salt water. So the $2.2 million worth of roofs came off. So be very careful, especially if it's an out-of-town, quick run-into-town contractor. Make sure you know their credentials and check them out. But the process to me would be get your
little closer
surveyor.
to the mouth, a little louder.
Okay. What I would follow is get your survey in place. Try to make a decision on what you're trying to accomplish. Are you trying to save the home? Are you trying to save the shell? Are you trying to, remodel what's there? Do you need a new appraisal? But get a good grip on those items that Jeff has mentioned, and then you try to get with a contractor that's willing to sit down with you and give you a realistic grip on the scope of. You can't just throw a square foot price out. If it's a remodel, are the interior walls staying? Are you tearing all the drywall out? Get a good look from somebody, a contractor that you trust, to give you a scope of work, what he feels you need to do in order to get your home, if you're trying to get it back into habitable space. If you're trying to elevate the building, and by elevate it, I don't mean move up what's there, but you're trying to tear down and either take the building, new building up above floodplain. That's probably, you're going to hear from everybody, that's probably the best thing to do possibly as far as FEMA's concerned, everybody. But it is theoretically the best, but that's the most expensive way to go. So I would say once you get some word from a contractor you trust, if you can employ a design professional to come in and assess what you have. Now let me give you one little trigger. There are a couple of architects here, but there's another architect here whose family's been in practice here for quite some time. Get one of the guys that knows the local, what's going on in your locality. You can, okay. The cost factor, you're going to get costs that are all over the range, and that is, the scope of work has a lot to do with that. But what I was saying to you was, make sure that if you get with a design professional, you're going to need a good plan to base your price on, and make sure the job follows the plans. The process with the city, I would encourage you to get a plan in once you make a decision as quickly as possible, because the cities are so bogged down and so confused. Some of them are doing great. I know the people that are handling this headache, and the people here that are handling as we do couldn't be better. They make decisions and move on, but I won't name names, but there are cities that are really good about processing a lot of the smaller stuff and getting it on the way. The larger stuff, there are cities that even on the small stuff, you would be there forever. Luckily, you're not in one of those towns. But I would say at that point, get with a reputable contractor, try to assess the value. If you have questions, don't get bullied into signing a contract and moving on. Make sure you understand everything. If you don't understand the plans that you're looking at or the prices you're looking at, I would encourage you to get somebody that that can interpret stuff for you. That's really the process. Then once you get in the design process with your architect that you select, timing is the big factor. Get in as quickly as you can. Don't get with somebody that's going to be 2 years putting your plans together. Make sure you not only establish a price for your services, but make sure you get a timetable that they can stick with, and base your fees on the fee distribution on your timetable. The other thing I wanted to tell you that most people don't know is some of the cities, now I know Hetty knows here, in a little case, very often your design professional, your architect, is able to work under what's known as an affidavit, okay, or an affidavit permit, and he can assist you if the city's jammed up in affidavit inspections. Now you got to clear that with the city, but as a design professional, you can get an architect to act as
Do you know if the
an
counties,
affidavit
the cities let architects,
inspector,
private people do it or no?
as well as being the design professional. And so make sure you clear it with the city, but that is one way to get more, expedite a little bit more. And I think the more we get into all these thousands of homes that are going to be being done, I think some of the cities are going to rely on the design professionals, the architects and the engineers, to conduct minor inspections and to assist them in some of the processing of the work that has to be done at your house. So it's a complex process. The biggest thing is don't just go at first gut reaction. Investigate all the possibilities, you know, and at one point decide whether you're better off, you know, rebuilding totally, or whether you're better off going with what you have to do within. And if you can find a good design professional and a good contractor to work with, I'd encourage you to work closely with them. The local guys are loaded up, but you know, make your, you know, your due diligence work. That's it. I mean, I think that's basically the process, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jack. All right, so speaking of construction, Mark, come on up. So let's talk some, this is something I'll just tee it up. You've got builders saying, oh, I can build for $300 a foot. I can build for $400 a foot. I can build for 600 or 200. Oh, well, this guy said 200. I'm going to go with him. Let's talk about how everything goes across the spectrum and how you got to look at what it is and what was not included and what is included. So you got to watch out, because this is for community looking after community and to making sure nobody gets screwed or gets ripped off. So let's talk about that and introduce yourself and tell everybody what's going on. You guys are great.
All right, my name is Mark Alexson. I own Alexson Construction and Custom Kitchen, Baths, and Beyond. So we do a lot of construction in the area. Not only am I a local contractor, I'm also one of your neighbors. I live on Harbor Drive North, and I also own another house on Harbor Drive North. To circle back to the 50% rule, I wanted to bring this up. This is very key. So I recently bought another house on Harbor Drive North.
Yep.
If you go into the FEMA, like Jeff said, tools, hit FEMA. I have it on my phone right now. I'd be happy to share it with anybody. That I went in there and my FEMA value to rebuild this house, when I purchased this house, my idea was to purchase this house, remodel it all, sell it, obviously make a profit. I had gone into the FEMA report, and by the time they gave me my 50%, it was $89,000 in change. There was no way I could do it. It's an 1,800 square foot house. I wanted to add 400 square feet to it. I called my appraiser, state certified appraiser. The appraisal came in. I believe it came in at $608,000 for the dwelling, which was around $320 a square foot to rebuild, which alleviated the $89,000, which I've gotten the permit. We did all that. It's given me $304,000 to rebuild. So that number is not necessarily etched in stone. We got to remember that. Like Jeff said, FEMA wants us all to build up. It would be great. Can we all do it? Absolutely not. Is it affordable? Absolutely not. I've got 3 widows on one street. They can't do this stuff. It's all ground level houses. But there are options. So just keep in mind that the certified appraisers can definitely get you more money. FEMA's putting those. I've looked up probably, we've got like 45 houses we're doing right now. I've looked up 10 of those houses. Out of the 10, they're probably averaging between $90 and I would say $120 a square foot is what is on the Pinellas County website. So when you look at that, don't panic. Do not panic. I know there's some other builders in the crowd. There is no way that anybody is going to rebuild a house for $100 a square foot, period. As far as the options on rebuilding, I'm in this boat. I literally demoed this house that I was just talking of. took it probably 70%. The roof is off, the block wall in the front of the house is down, the interior walls are down, I had dumpsters in the front yard, and all of a sudden here comes all the hurricanes. Well, there's nobody that's going to buy a house on the ground right now. So I have chosen to do the option of, it's a block home, so what we're doing is we are blocking in all the openings, raising it 5 foot, filling it in with dirt. There's 2 options with that. Filling it in with dirt, pour your concrete slab, raise it up, raise the walls, cut the windows out, raise the windows. That's going to be one option. The other option is to go with the floor joist system, which some of you may not understand it, but go with the floor joist system, have crawl space underneath, and then you're basically creating the same option. So, but there are choices out there, and you don't necessarily have to go to the $1,000 a square foot, driving pilings and all those things. But the biggest thing I think for people is don't panic when you look at that number, because that number will scare you to death. Again, I am a local neighbor. Our store, we're actually offering, by the way, 30 to 20% off anybody, flood victims, cabinets, flooring, anything like that. If you've got any questions as far as anything with construction, there's several of us around. I'd be more than happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you. Name and number.
What's that?
The contact information.
What's that? Alex and Construction, and then we also own Custom Kitchen and Bath. We're right over the bridge at Hammock Hardware. If you know where Hammock Hardware is at, we're right in the same plaza.
Awesome. One thing we're going to do, just so you guys know, right after this, on this table, there's a piece of paper that says, I want more information on insurance or architect or contractor, designs or value, whatever it is. And then we're going to make sure that you get to everybody. Bob's going to be doing it, and Chris and Sarah, so right here at the front. So anybody who wants to be followed up, I'm sure everyone will hang around and answer questions too. But if you want to stick around afterwards, you can do that too. Mark, one other thing. If you're going to renovate, please, 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 can I emphasize enough? I can't. Get an appraisal. If you want to, just get an appraisal no matter what, because you have to do that. And independent. Here, go ahead. Grab the mic.
You guys, the biggest thing right now too, patience is key. Nothing's going to get done tomorrow. We all have to test our patience right now. We're all in this together. We will all be back one day. It's going to take time. We're all here. I haven't even demoed my own house yet. I haven't even had the courage to go in and do it. But we will all get back. It's just going to take a lot of time. We don't even know with Pinellas County. I mean, Hetty's great. Hetty's getting everything out. Everybody knows Hetty in Indian Rocks Beach. Pinellas County has no clue what's going on. And who knows how long it's going to take. But patience is very key right now.
Yes. And patience is difficult because the way it's set up is you can't put drywall in until you get an inspection done. And the question is, when's my inspection going to get done? The answer is, I don't know. And then, can I speed up? No. It's going to get done whenever it's going to get done. Well, when is that? I don't know. Right? When can I get a permit to do anything? I don't know. After you get your inspection. Well, when's that? I don't know. And I can tell you just from past history, I referenced Fort Myers earlier, Fort Myers, there's still people waiting, right? And this has been a couple years. This is going to be a very interesting time. One thing I have to hit on from a real estate perspective is please, please, please do nothing right now. There's people making really dumb decisions right now. Please stop. There's scum-sucking vultures in the streets that are trying to say, sell me your house. It's worth only land value. Here's the printout from the county. I'll give you that in cash, right? Wrong. Don't let them happen. Take a deep breath. First thing I want to say, if you have a mortgage, call your mortgage company. You haven't already, and ask them for forbearance, right? They'll give you, most of them will give you 90 days of a breathe, right? Especially when you're not in your home. And they'll tack that 3 months to the end of your mortgage, give you time to think and breathe. Do not freak out. Your property is extremely valuable. It will be worth even way more than it's worth today later. So do not sell, right? Don't sell. Don't sell for the values. You guys see it all. There's flippers in town doing all kinds of scams out there. And so as your neighbors and as your friends, we're real estate people saying don't do anything, right? That should tell you something. Do not sell. Do not throw things on the market, right? Do not, right? If you're in a really big bind, talk to somebody. We'll help you figure out bridge loans or whatever you may need. But please don't sell your real estate in this marketplace right now. It's not a good thing to do. One question coming. The question is, I haven't even taken my drywall out yet. Should I? Right? So the question is, yes, you should. You have to get a demo permit. You can say, screw that, I don't want to get a demo permit. You have to get a demo permit. You can do it now and get a demo permit later, but you have to get a demo permit no matter what you do, or else it's going to come back and bite you. And please resist the urge. Please resist the urge to do the work before this. Yes, Sarah.
Really quick, Indian Rocks Beach is saying you do not need a demo permit right now. Again, this situation is evolving. Everyone's still learning new things. And every individual city is a little bit different, right? The FEMA contracts are different. What they're learning is different. So keep that in mind. It's an ever-evolving process. So be aware of that. But again, don't put drywall back up until you have the permit.
Yes. Take it. The answer is yes, take it out, because you don't want that drywall wicking up moisture and getting moldy and getting worse on that one. Take pictures along the way as you demo it out, but you can't fix anything, guys. If you do, I'm telling you, FEMA's going to come back and bite you. If you try to sneak in the middle of the night with Home Depot drywall and your buddy, the contractor, is going to help you put it up on Sunday morning, you're wasting your time and money. They're going to get you, and you're going to have to take it down, and it's going to cost you a lot more money. So I know it sucks, right? It's really, really not fun. But that's the reality, and it's not the city. This is not the city. This is federal government FEMA mandate on what they force the city to do. So I know the city gets a bad rap for why can't I do this, but it's not the city, and it's not even the county. It's the FEMA requirements that are in place right now on this. Question?
FEMA came out and inspected. Can I now start putting it back together, or can they send somebody else?
FEMA came out and inspected. Can I now start putting it back together? No. Because FEMA is not a permit issuing entity, right? FEMA's here for FEMA, and FEMA's here to make sure, see the damage, assess the value, and see if they can get you not to rebuild your home, right? Let's just call it really what it is. That's what FEMA's job is. Now, you're going to get the county is going to have to give an inspection to say that that was demoed properly, and now you're going to put your drywall back, but I've got to come see it when you do your drywall. Did you use stainless steel screws? Did you have to replace some of the outlets? Did you replace the outlets? What kind of wires did you use to replace the outlets? All that stuff is going to be have to, and it's for your safety. We've all seen houses catch on fire, and they're doing it to make sure it all gets done right on that one.
What about you if your outlets were underwater at all, and they will make you tear all that new drywall out?
If your electrical outlets were underwater and you tried to sneak your drywall back in, they're going to not only make you take your drywall out, you're going to have to take the electrical outlets out and rewire it, get an electrician, and get another permit. Right? It's fire hazard on this one. So, guys, I know this is not fun. It's different than our past floods. We've had floods before, we've had issues before, and we're able to kind of go put it back to our lives back together. This is a catastrophic disaster that we're in a whole separate rule that the federal government is now in charge of. It's not us. It's not the city.
Said that we could hire an independent appraiser
Yes.
inspector. If we do that and they say it's okay and they inspect it along the way, is that okay?
No, the question is, there's two different things you're confused. You get to hire an independent appraiser
No, I'm
for the
sorry,
value.
I meant the designer.
You've got to talk to Hetty at the city of Indian Rocks Beach and go get a permit to do it, to put your house back together. Now, from what I'm hearing, you don't have to pull your drywall out. That may be fluid, that may change, but I haven't heard that in other cities. But people are doing it, and like the further south cities are like, if you did it, no problem. Just come in and tell us you did it. And the reason why they're doing this, guys, is because they made the deal with FEMA. I can't stress this enough. FEMA is forcing this issue, not the city, not the county, and they're forcing a house-by-house inspection. 100% of the homes in the city are going to be inspected. 100% of them. Every single one of our homes will have an inspector at our home. Whether if you've cleaned it up, they're going to bust you. And I know it's not fun, but that's the way it's. Independent inspector is not going to do much unless they're going to be able to go get a permit from the county, right? Because you got to. Your role is to talk with a contractor, right? Who's going to talk to Hetty and go get a permit, right? Poor Hetty, right? She's gonna pull her hair out on this.
I needed a new air conditioner
Need a new air conditioner, is that going to count towards my 50%? Everything's going to count towards your 50%. Remember what FEMA's goal is. They want that number to go high. If you hired ServPro and they gave you a $23,000 bill to dry your house out, and they said, don't worry about it, we're going to bill your insurance company, that $23,000 is going to go towards your 50% rule. Right? You did your drywall yourself, too bad. They're going to bill you as if you hired labor to do that work, and that's going to go towards your 50% rule. Everything's going to go towards 50%. Is it what? The appraiser's not going to count towards that. It's work done on your home is going to count. Yes.
Does it make sense to get an appraisal after you do some improvements? That way the value increases, you get more money.
Does it make sense to hire the appraiser after you do your improvements? After you do your unpermitted improvements?
No permanent, but you stop at a certain point, and then
The appraiser you're going to hire is going to appraise your home as if it was the condition it was before Helene hit, right?
what if you're adding square footage?
If you're adding square footage, that's a whole different. That's going to be a renovation permit. That's going to be a construction permit to add something new.
With regards to the appraisal, you probably do it after you get the addition, as long as it's within the FEMA guidelines.
Yeah, that's going to be your additions has nothing to do with the 50%. And about your house the way it is and was. Yes. Yes. So you're under the 50% rule. You legally get a permit to add on another bedroom. You can reappraise it, and then you'll get another 50% rule next year, another number next year. So you can do incremental improvements to your house along the way. You don't have to do it all at one time. Every year. Yes. Question.
What can we do? So many of us lost appliances, but we want to live in our homes.
I know.
What can we
The
do
question is,
regarding appliances especially?
yes. The question is, what can we do? We want to buy new appliances. We want to live in our home again, right? What can we do? You want to address that?
Yeah. So you can basically do whatever you want. It is your home. And the only reason I wanted to come back up is because Jeff had touched on something about electric. And that falls into that patience thing. Everybody wants to do this, and everybody wants to get back in their home. They're homeless. They're living in a tent, everything else. I get it. I'm in the same boat. I'm totally in the same boat. There's two things. If you Google it right now and find out what is the most sensitive metal to salt water, it will come up as copper. Two things. You don't change those wires out, and I'm just telling you guys this for safety reasons. You don't change those wires out, eventually that's going to eat through the paper, it's going to eat through everything, it's going to eat through the plastic coating and everything. 2 years later, your house is going to burn down, and you're going to be like, what the hell just happened to me? I just went through a flood 2 years ago, and now my house caught on fire.
Yep.
It will happen. The other thing is, I went to one guy's house, and he wanted me to board everything up. Can you start hanging drywall? 48% moisture level. Do not do it. It's patience, folks. You've got to have patience in this situation. As far as your appliances and stuff, yes. If you get an electrician in there, they check everything. If you didn't have water over your devices and your devices don't need to be changed, you're fine. If you didn't have water over top of your wires, you're fine. If that water was over it, you don't want to plug anything in. You want to make sure that you get the electrician in there. If those wires need to be changed, we've done probably 8 houses at this point as far as the electrical stuff. Changing out wires, the ones we're hitting, the ones that already we know, have 30 inches of water in it. If you had 8 inches of water in it, you're fine. There might be one wire down low that needs to be changed or something, but do not do anything. Don't try to expedite things. But your appliances, order your appliances. If you only had 8 inches of water in your house, plug it in, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. But make sure you get the electrician there still. You want to make sure that your house is safe. Last thing you want to do is burn your house down because you wanted to move back in.
You don't need a permit to do the electrical.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, you definitely need it.
As long as you have a licensed electrician.
Use it. What I'm sort of telling everybody, it's like we're all in this together, meaning Pinellas County hasn't issued one permit. So as far as what you can do, you can't cover anything up. If you,
Just changing the wires.
the electrician's going to be liable for that. The contractor you hire will be liable for that. I'm telling my customers that if you want to go ahead, we've changed some wires. Yes, we did, but I'm not covering anything up. I can't put drywall over it when I got new wiring and new devices until that gets done. And it's
Opened up, it's okay.
I mean, technically speaking, you're supposed to have a permit to change a front doorknob because it's structural, because it's inside to outside.
We applied for one, so is that okay?
If you applied for your permit,
You got to get it.
Permit, but if we
yeah.
would have some electrical change, so we can put it in there.
I mean, technically speaking, you're not supposed to do any work in your house. They're as bad a shape as we are. They're probably worse than we are right now,
Yeah.
to be honest. So just don't cover anything up. Do not cover anything up, whatever you do. Yeah.
Right. I think the official statement is you can't do anything without a permit, right? You can't even touch your house. You're not going to be able to do anything to your house without a permit. And I think you're getting the point. It's going to be a long time until you're going to get a permit for anything, because they're going to have to get through the city and evaluate every home and see the conditions of them before the poor Hetty is going to have time to approve an electrical permit that's going to stack up on her desk. So patience is going to be a big issue, and we've never had this before, guys. It's a whole different ballgame in this. Yes. Sure. Here, coming up.
What if somebody isn't interested in using FEMA dollars?
FEMA
Well,
overrules it.
it's not a, yeah.
It's not an option
It's not a
for if FEMA
It's not a
is
personal option.
It's not a personal option for the Indian Rocks Beach. So unfortunately, FEMA overrules us, Pinellas County, and then Indian Rocks Beach. So it's not an option to not want FEMA. We're unfortunately locked into what they want.
If you're in the city, you're in FEMA.
Yes.
The deal was made from the city, the overarching deal with every single property inside the city. So even if you don't have flood insurance, if you own your home free and clear, you don't have flood insurance, you're still under the FEMA guidelines because you're in the city. And so it's just the way it is. What are the green signs versus the red signs? Do you want to address that? What's when
I
people?
know the green versus the red,
Yeah.
but I do know. I asked today, so that's the FEMA coming around and looking and inspecting your home, certifying that it has been flooded and is okay to enter. That's one of them. Not being condemned. So that's one of them. One is going to be from Pinellas County, and that is your original inspector needed kind of thing. So it's either condemned or not condemned. That's one of them. No, it's just from the outside. So they're going to check the water lines. They're checking the outside perimeter. So from there, you can have them come in, and that's where Hetty and Pinellas County come in so that they can come into the house and do the inspection on the inside.
That's why Deer Beach has a 4-foot freeze.
They're already there, my friend. Sorry, they've already seen them.
That's right. Jack was just reminding me, just to remind one thing. So the cities get points, right, as far as how well they want to obey the FEMA master. And the more they agree to, the higher the points. So, for example, in some cities, there's a higher freeboard, which means the houses are going to be forced to be higher. Some ones are a lot stricter on permitting issues. So the more things you check the box, the higher the rating. The lower all of our flood insurance rates premiums are. So that's the game that was played, while everybody has to be in FEMA because of that rule. And that was that's the motivation of the city, was to drive everybody's property rates down. But you made the deal that you got to deal with what we have to deal with now as a result. And if they leave FEMA, then you know what's going to happen. One day, when we get this again, because we live on a barrier island, right? FEMA's going to say, "Don't call us. We don't have a deal with you. We're not coming. Good luck getting your own trash. Good luck dealing with your own food. Good luck dealing with your own everything. Don't call us. We're not here." So that's a huge gamble. And Marco Island did it, right? They decided to get out of FEMA. The demographics are different in Marco Island, right? Cape Coral did something different, right? They didn't listen to the rules they agreed to with FEMA, and FEMA is now smacking them for not doing the right thing, and it's really creating a major problem down there, right? So that's why the city is forced to be as strict as they're being strict and can't give you a permit for an electrical thing until your house has been inspected and all the things that they promised in their rules. So that's where the patients come back in.
Are there any unincorporated areas within IRD, within Pinellas County? Do any of the residents here need to ensure that they are in the right governmental zone?
If you're in the city of Indian Rocks Beach, you're covered under FEMA, right? So if you're outside the city, if you're unincorporated, you need to ask those questions to the county because you're not in a city. You're unincorporated. There is no city. You fall under Pinellas County rules, right? City of Seminole is in one. There's places that are not. So we're mostly, when you're on the Barrier Islands, you're in a city, an incorporated city, and you're going to be under the FEMA guidelines, especially on the Barrier Islands on this. All right, a couple more, then I want to get to some insurance. Yes? So different. So if you go, let's say you get a renovation permit through, and you go fix your house, and it's now assessed at $1 million, and then it's now assessed at $1.2 million. If you did it 4 months ago, I would get an appraisal to reference that work you did because the county's not going to reflect that yet. Good point.
Indian Rocks Beach has no look-back period.
Yeah. So Sarah's saying Indian Rocks does not have a look-back period, right? So that's good. So what a look-back period is they go back for the last year, and every permit that you pulled, the value of that permit will apply towards your 50% rule. The city of Indian Rocks Beach did not take that check mark, right, which is good. Other cities did, and other cities have a couple-year look-back, right? So. Inside the city of Indian Rocks, yeah, because the county is overseeing the construction. Sarah?
Just to clarify, so again, different cities, different regulations. If you're not in Indian Rocks Beach, it's going to be different. But in Indian Rocks Beach, for the last few years, our zoning department has gone through the county for a lot of our permits. There's things that have to stay in the city, like fences and different things like that. But a lot of our permitting in Indian Rocks Beach goes straight to the county. So like we said before, you have to get your approval from HEDI. Then you send HEDI's approval from Indian Rocks Beach to the county for all your permits.
Yeah, so here the county's responsible for the building. The building department, HEDI, authorizes through Safe Built, right, and it runs through. So, all right, one last question. I want to get to some insurance stuff.
In between the storms, Pinellas County inspectors, property appraisers inspected our house. Did they post a determination on that, or is that just a cursory?
He's saying the inspectors came to his house in between, after Helene, before Milton, they actually came to your house to inspect it, then that's good. You should get a letter from them of determining what the value is. And I don't know how long it's taking the county to do that. How long ago was that? And you still don't have the letter? So patience is going to be the issue, guys. That's the overarching issue that we have going on right now.
Are there differences between business and residential?
Is there a difference between business and residential? Same process. FEMA's going to require the same thing. That's a good question. How are all these businesses able to open up? That's a question a lot of the businesses are going to have to answer later, right? As to how quickly they were able to miraculously get their walls back up. That's an issue they're going to have to deal with, I think, later. And I think they knew that going in. They just wanted to get open. We're glad they're open. And I know all of us wish we could go do the same thing, and some people have. I just want to make sure you know, as your neighbors, that you're taking a major risk on that. So please be careful, because I don't want to see you waste money. I've also seen people go buy a new air conditioning because they got flooded. They're doing some repairs that they got done, and then they get their 50% number, and it's over, and they're not allowed to do that, so they wasted all that money on those renovations, right? So you got to think where you are in your 50% rule. Think about your structure. If you've got one of the old bungalows, wood frame, crawl space houses, chances are you're not going to like the end of the story, right, on that one. If you've got a stronger, newer concrete block home, right, that's a little bit elevated and you didn't get as much water, you're probably going to like that story. And like they were just talking about, get that appraisal to raise that number up on there.
Question over here.
Yes.
So you were at Madeira.
Yep.
What about St. Pete, who is actually giving out permits? What have they done differently from city to city to streamline the process to get permits out?
City by city, larger municipalities have more staff is the answer.
Oh, no,
right, yeah.
it's not a question of that.
Yeah.
It's, so have they made a deal with FEMA to go forward?
No, they still have to. They may have made a special deal, but if they're in the FEMA guidelines, they made their deal with FEMA. Whatever their deal was is what they have to live up to. And it probably still was having to have the inspections done. So maybe they're giving those inspections faster. Maybe they have more staff to do those inspections, to check the demo permit. They can get the demo permits faster, right? And then the rebuild permits faster to put the drywall back up. It's all a question of staffing. And right now, I know Madeira and Treasure Island, they're working hard to get more staff because they're only able to do about 10, 15 houses a day, and there's thousands of homes that have to be seen. So you put that out, you're talking years of time to actually get to every home at the current pace. And there's no shortcut. You can't not do the inspection, right? So then if that's why you need to get in. A couple things on timing. You need to if you didn't, you say you don't need the demo permit, but if you don't need a demo permit, that's great. But I would get your permits in with a contractor soon, right? Because you're going to be on a big stack of paper. If you want to start building, I would get with an architect very soon, get with a contractor very soon, because how many homes a year do you typically see get built in Indian Rocks Beach? What guess? 10 homes in the whole city, brand new homes a year? You're about to see 1,000 have to get work done. And do you think there's going to be a shortage in washer and dryers and microwaves and electrical panels and wiring and roofing? Yes, you're going to see a big COVID-style problem of supply chain, and it's not just Indian Rocks Beach. It's everywhere from Marco Island all the way up through the Panhandle and all the way up the Carolina coast, too. It's tens of thousands of homes that we never expected to have to rebuild are going to have to be rebuilt. There's going to be big supply chains. So if you're one of the ones that wants to rebuild, really start this process quickly on that one. It's very important. Yes, question.
How long do the FEMA rules stay in effect? Can we live without a kitchen and without drywall in our homes as long as we have a bathroom, and then 3 years from now, we'll put that stuff in after
Thanks.
the rules are over?
The question is, how long do the FEMA rules last? If you're sitting there waiting for an inspector, can you live in your house and do those things? I don't know the answer to that exact question about how long, right? I know people are clean their houses out, get the demo out, make it livable, and wait for the inspection before you spend money is pretty much the takeaway. So the idea is get your appraisal, get it demoed, get that number up as high as you can if you want to rebuild, renovate your home. Question. Yep. No, and Hope doesn't know the answer.
I've already called Eddie. I got a FEMA people came out and inspected house one. I called Penny, or emailed her. She sent it to FEMA to get inspection number two. So you got to contact Penny and ask me approximately how long for that city ordered inspection.
The question is, he's called Hetty, ordered the inspection, waiting for the timing. How long is it going to take? Approximately, it depends on where you are in the stack, right? There's probably 500 houses in the stack, and it really depends on you. There's no answer to that question. It's going to be probably weeks until they get back is probably the answer there.
I kind of heard, but it's hard to hear in the back.
Yep.
So again, I apologize. So after you get it was Tidal Basin was the contractor who came in for FEMA. After they did their thing, it next goes to Pinellas. Is that correct?
FEMA's coming in to do their inspections, right? And then the Pinellas County is going to.
And how do I know after FEMA's inspection's been done? How do I find out
that, I don't have the answer to how long Pinellas County is going to take to follow up on the permits. Yeah. Hetty.
Email Hetty.
Email or call Hetty. She's the point right now. Hetty, I hope, gets more staff.
She's flagging all
Right.
the emails and then we'll respond to everyone when she knows, because she doesn't
Yes.
know either.
Ask Eddie, when's my nose going to
Yes.
Yep.
Did anybody get one of the placards on their front door?
Yes.
There's Pinellas County has been really good. They're going around and they've put placards on everybody's house or a lot of houses. I know mine got a placard. I know a few other people got placard. I'm on several jobs and I know they all got placards saying this home has been inspected. So they know, basically they've walked around your house. They know what your water line was. They have a general consensus of what is going on inside. So if you've gotten one of those, I'm not familiar with the FEMA. There's FEMA inspectors coming around also?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
FEMA has.
Yep.
Okay.
You got to call Hetty.
Yeah, you're gonna have to call Hetty once you.
Email.
Oh, your Hetty's gonna be burdened no matter what. Yeah, it's got to funnel through Hetty. Hetty is, she's up here right now.
Yeah. All right. Next thing I want to talk about, Kim.
Yes.
Let's talk about how do you fund this. You've got renovations are going to be expensive. New construction is going to be expensive. There are 203H disaster loans right now. There's construction perm loans. And Kim and Michael are awesome with Beachland Mortgage, and they've got a whole list of resources on how you can get funding to make this happen. So I'm turning it over to you.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. So I know everybody likes the sound of money, correct? Does anybody like money? Or am I just me like money? I mean, I've been in financing a long time. You love money? Thank you. All right, so we love money around here. So there's a couple things that can happen. I don't know how many people have received any kind of insurance checks yet. Has anybody received any money?
No.
Okay, so I got a couple. There's a couple.
Emergency money.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's emergency money, right? Your first draws. Okay, good. So there's other ways of getting money. How many people have applied for the SBA money for the disaster house? Has anybody done that? I got one here. I got a couple over there. I got a couple over here. Okay? That's not very many for a whole group of people. Okay? It's a low interest loan. And so it's like a 2.37% interest, which is what I call free money. Okay? It's also something that you can get for 30 years. And for the first year, you don't have to make any payments on it. I don't actually do those loans personally, but I worked for the SBA. And I worked for the disaster development side. Remember when COVID hit? So I handled all the economic injury disaster loans. So anybody that was self-employed, that got money for that, I was actually one that was approving those loans on the back end. So it really is important that you know that those SBA loans are actually there to help you to actually get money immediately in your pocket. Now, they did happen to run out of money, okay? But they're going to come back come November when Congress meets. So you need to get in, you need to apply for your loan number, okay? Because the key to this, if you want to keep your house, is you're going to need money to do it. Who agrees that you need money to be able to make a decision? I do, okay? So that's what I think is the most important thing, is you think with all the revenues that you can get for doing that. So, because who knows, like I know that insurance is out there. Thank God we have some. Those that didn't though, I mean, what are they going to do? Correct? So you're going to want to try to figure out however other ways you can get those funds. So we also do other types of money. We do disaster loans. It's a section of the act that the Housing Department of Urban Development, it's called HUD, put together. It's called a 203H. It's just a section of the act. You're going to hear that. It's just a disaster loan. What it does is it actually gives you money to actually, one, if you want to go purchase a home to live in, because you might have to tear your home down and rebuild, where are you going to live? In an Airbnb for the next 12 months? How expensive is Airbnb? Anybody living in one of those right now? I see a couple. Okay, good. So, or a hotel. Who's living in a hotel? Oh, renting. Okay. What about tenting? Does anybody in a tent? Okay. So, what a 203H does is your current house, because everybody goes, well, how can I afford 2 homes? I don't have that kind of money. Well, what happens is your current home that's in this disaster, I call the thing, okay? The item that's this thing that is actually needing to have a resolution on, we actually don't count against your debt to income. So it's kind of like it's not there. You can come in, you can apply for a loan in a new unit of time and apply for a disaster loan. It gives you 100% financing. You don't have to put any money down. You then, maybe sellers don't like this, but the seller can pay up to 6% of your closing costs. So you could literally move in for just your earnest money down, which could be $500. It could be $100. It's whatever the seller and you agree on. And then you pay for an appraisal. That gets you housing. Because truthfully, I feel like if people were okay and they were in a house, they wouldn't be so frantic to try to make a decision and sell their home. But if you had a place to stay, wouldn't you feel more comfortable? You wouldn't be worried. You wouldn't be thinking, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to me tomorrow? So anyway, that's what I think with this 203H. But there's a caveat to this. It also will give you money to rehab. So let's say you're not in a situation where you really want to go buy another house. You really just want to rebuild what's in there. You can take this 203H. You can actually do a 203K, which is another section of the act that gives you rehab dollars. It'll go all the way up to whatever dollar amount we need to actually rehab that home. So it kind of goes together so you can rebuild the house that you're in. That also includes money to build it up. So you don't have to wait for your insurance money or FEMA to pay you or whatever else. You can start to get this going. You also don't have to pay any kind of payment on that while you're doing that construction, because it actually creates an interest reserve to make those payments. Does that make sense to everybody? Anything I didn't say that you guys are, okay, good. Those loans are section of the acts, but they're actually FHA loans. They're from the Federal Home Administration. They actually are the ones that actually do the actual funding on it. They go up to $498,000. It's not going to give you millions, okay? So if you need more than $498,000 to do something with, then you need to go to a one-time closed construction, okay? So, and if anybody in here that are investors that have homes that were investment properties, okay, we've got a couple. We've got one there. Okay, we got those. So there's a ton of money out for investors. It's called fix and flip money. You know what those are? Okay, good. So you're going to just do fix and flip, right? But in the meantime, let's say some time goes by. How many people in here never had insurance? Doesn't have flood insurance, doesn't have homeowners? Okay, got a couple. So what happens? You're going to have to do something, right? So those loans, the 203H, the 203K, and the SBA are for you. That gets you the money at the least amount of cost. Does that make sense? Least amount. Who's here who just bought their house and they are upside down? Jeff had mentioned a couple. Is anybody here in that boat?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking around. Okay, good. We got a couple of those. Well, I've been around the block. And what happens is when we get down and you finally make a decision on this house over here, because remember, it's a thing right now, remember? Because right now you don't know what to do with it. I don't know if it's fully, disastered or where it is in the FEMA guideline. Because by the way, those codes, those colors actually go towards what they deem as, is it fully destroyed? Is it okay? Is it this? FEMA puts like color codes to that. And Mike over at the Pinellas County Appraiser's Office, Mike Twitty, he's the one that actually comes up, has got those codes. And we did one in this other place that actually gave you all of the color codes so you knew when it entered onto your front door what they were deeming your property, okay? So, but in the meantime, if you're in that situation where you owe too much money, just so you know, the banks actually do reduce. It's called, in other scenarios, it might be called a short sale. Does anybody know what a short sale is? Kinda? But this is called a short balance. Does that make sense? They're going to reduce the balance on your mortgage so that you can actually make this happen and get a new construction loan in the new unit of time. Now, it takes time to do all this. This is where that patience comes in, from everybody. Because depending on your situation, you might have a different situation than your neighbor, you know? Everybody's financing's different, everybody's cash that they have in their pocket's different, but depending on your situation, there is a solution. And that's really the bottom line when it comes to money. What's the solution for you? So when you go back to what Jeff was saying, you have two decisions you need to make here. One, do you really want to rebuild your home? Or two, do you want to actually get it up out of the flood zone so you never have to deal with FEMA again? Because the minute that you lift your house, you don't have to deal with FEMA, just so y'all know. Once it's up out of your flood elevation. And that's on your survey. Everybody got a survey when they bought their house, and on that survey, it shows your elevation. So as soon as you get out of the flood elevation by a foot above it, you actually are out of the flood zone. You don't have to deal with FEMA, and it also gets rid of your flood insurance. Who would like that? Yeah, I thought so. So that's kind of what I feel about finance. If you guys have any questions when it comes to financing, we do have information up here. You can call me, and we can go over your situation because everybody's different. And I would really like it to be where, we can help each individual person. Like, what's your situation? You can send scenarios over. We can send you back information, and that would help, I think, the most settle out so that way you don't feel so stressed out. Does anybody feel that way? Okay? I think so too. All right, I'm going to give this back to Jeff.
Okay. Thank you, Kim. Tom Abraham's going to come up in a second. We're going to talk about when you are short on the finances. But I want to talk about another option that we have, right? So some of you know it's very expensive to build, and some of you don't want to sell to the vultures. Please remember, guys, do nothing right now without talking to somebody. What people are offering for your property is way too low. It is worth way more. And take a deep breath and do not react right now. Please promise me you're going to do that. Stop it. Even if you're done, over, you don't care, you just want out, don't do it, right? Let somebody guide you through. I don't care if you work with us or not. Call us as friends so we can see it. I've got people, give us your contracts. If these people are giving you a contract for your house, let us take a look at it. Don't want a penny from you, but to make sure. We stopped a couple of people from making really bad decisions recently because they get these offers from a company, and it's from an LLC, and it's closed in 30 days, all cash, and an as-is contract. Sounds good on a highlight reel, but when we start digging in, the LLC was fake, right? It was not active. There's no proof of funds. They're really just trying to flip the house. So they'll get it under contract. Say, I'll give you $350 for your house, right? And I'll give it to you in 30 days, all cash as is. I don't want you to do anything. And then they're going to immediately go try to sell it to somebody else for $400,000, and they're going to take away your equity. And that's not right. We want your equity to be yours, so please don't do anything. There's people scavenging the neighborhoods, knocking on your doors. Have anybody had them come to your door or track you down yet? It's coming, and they're going to keep coming. So just say no is the answer, right? And then talk to us on that one. What we're doing with a lot of people too, if they don't have the ability to rebuild, you say, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too stressful. But I got a nice piece of property, but I don't have the money to build another house. We're actually partnering with people. If it's of interest, let us know. And if you have a low mortgage balance or a no mortgage balance on it, it's better, right? We'll actually come together, form a company. You contribute the land. We'll put up the money to build the house. We'll sell it at the end of the day, and you'll make a lot more than just selling your lot, right? So that's another option for you guys to talk about. I'm happy to talk and meet anytime to do that. We've got the funds available to do stuff, and it's better for you than just selling and getting out if you have the time and if you have the patience. But let's talk about some people that when you do get upside down, because the reality is there's going to be a lot of people that are going to end up finding themselves short, which means you owe more on the home than the land is worth. Because if your property gets deemed uninhabitable and you're not allowed to renovate it, you're stuck. And it is worth the land value only, less about $10,000, which is what it costs to demo it and take it away. Right? So when you find yourself in a position that that's the case, it's not a desperation situation. It's not a good situation, but there's ways out. Tom Abraham has a law firm, Abraham and Sweeney, is a personal good friend of mine forever. We actually went to high school together, believe it or not. We're college roommates, so he knows where all the bodies are buried and the stories he's not allowed to tell. But I trust him implicitly. He's my real estate attorney, and he's helped people, thousands of them. You'll tell us the exact number, but tell us what their options are now, Tom.
Thank you very much. So the options that we're talking about is what happens when you owe more than what your property will sell for, right? Simple calculation, simple math, right? When you cannot sell your property in the current condition it's in, and you can't cover what you owe the bank, that's the short sale. That means that we have to go to banks, and we go to them, and they're, oddly enough, they're reasonable when it comes to this, and we're able to tell them, this is the situation, this is the current value, and we can settle that debt with them, okay? So most banks, nationally chartered banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, they all have these programs. Credit unions have these programs. So many banks have these programs. They've dealt with it during the last recession. They understand what happens during storms, tornadoes, landslides, earthquakes. These things happen across the country. So they're aware of it. They understand it. Now, is that an option for you to jump to right now? No, because the first analysis is, what are you dealing with? Do you have insurance? What will your insurance cover? These are the questions that we've been talking about for the last hour or so. Then you've got to decide, do you have a mortgage? How do you want to deal with that mortgage? Do you have enough to cover that mortgage? If you don't and you're running into issues, remember, it's several things have to go wrong in a way for you to get to the short sale, which means your insurance is not enough to cover what you owe, you're unable to rebuild, and your property will not obtain, if you sell it, enough for you to pay off your mortgage, okay? So the good thing about this is it's not a hopeless scenario. Lenders also give you sometimes up to 3% a relocation funding. So for anybody who's struggling and says, well, I'm going to sell it for whatever I can get and the bank gets all the money, like what do I do? Well, they offer up to 3% toward a borrower's relocation fund. So if you're selling for $300,000, they'll give you $9,000, up to $9,000 for you to be able to do the relocation, okay? Not everybody's in that scenario. Many people, no mortgage, low mortgage. Ideas such as this where you're partnering with somebody to do something, get an answer or solution to your property, great idea. But all of it goes back to, when we're dealing with the legal, I'm a little early right now because many people don't need legal involvement at this point, okay? So you're just in the process of phase one. You're making your insurance claims, right? You're calling your lenders. So after that, it's a patience game. Having the patience, making sure that you don't need a lawyer, and you'll get everything resolved. If you do get to the position that you're not able to get your property resolved through your insurance with your lender, then you need to reach out and get professional help when it comes to the legal side. Okay?
Is there anything else you have?
How many you've done? How many shorts?
So just so you know, when it comes to short sales, this is nothing new for us. I'm very familiar. We've done over 5,300 short sales over the course of the recession from 2009 until now, and we still do them across the country. We have branches in Chicago, and we had them in Georgia and California. So we're very familiar with dealing with any bank that you've ever had. Unless it's like your uncle that lent you money. Otherwise, we can deal with pretty much any bank. Okay. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best of luck. And
Awesome.
hold on one second.
No. Yep. That's it. So thank you, Tom. And you'll be around for questions too, after this too. All right. Last thing I want to hit on is, last but not least, is insurance. Question.
My question is about the FEMA 50% rule.
Okay.
So, say I do improvements up to 50%, and I have a livable house, and I close all my permits. But I know I want to do, maybe I want nicer kitchen cabinets, maybe I want nicer things. How long do I have to wait for our next phase to do more improvements?
1 year.
Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. So you fix your property, you get your money. It's a 1 year issue. So you fix your property up, you get it reappraised, and then next year you can go for another permit and you can spend more money and upgrade things. 1 year. 1 year. 1 year. A year from when the permit's closed down. Oh, what's okay?
Indian Rocks.
Hey, hang on. Come on. Different than Indian Rocks here. What is it?
So Indian Rocks is very lenient, and you can actually close a permit today
after every permit
and reopen another permit tomorrow. So let's just say that your house is valued, your dwelling is valued at $375,000. So that's $400,000. You get $200,000 of improvement to the FEMA rule. You do your $200,000 improvement, and they're actually calling it 49% because they want that 1% of any overage or anything like that. So you do your $190,000 or you do your $190,000 improvement, which obviously raises the value of your dwelling. You get a new appraisal the next day, and your value now of your home is $600,000. You got an additional $300,000 to do what you want to do.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Was he wearing a blue shirt? Yes. But it charged me so much money. 30 grand.
Right. So, I mean, let's face it. You know, you can go buy yourself a $300 apartment refrigerator, or you can go buy yourself a $17,000 Sub-Zero. So, yeah, all that goes into consideration. Yes. You would have to get it reappraised, yeah, at that point. Just because they're not going to be able to, not for appliances, but for the general everything. So,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, basically.
The FEMA? 2 years plus in Fort Myers.
They cannot go backwards and devalue your home for what it was worth. They have to value your home at what it is going to cost to rebuild, and that's what I was saying earlier. Earlier, I was saying a lot of these people that I've looked up, it's been $90 to $120 a square foot. You cannot do an interior remodel for that, let alone build a new home. So it's more 250 to 320 is more the number. And I don't know how FEMA is going to respond to all this, but that's basically, you know, in a nutshell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. All right. You got a question over here? What is it? Yeah. That's an interesting question. After Adelia, she said she flooded out and got all new appliances and everything like everybody else had to do. And there's warranties on everything. Is that going to apply towards the FEMA limit? It shouldn't, but I'm not FEMA, so I can't answer that. But I am going to tell you something. Once we're finished with the insurance questions, we're going to officially end this because we have somebody that may or may not be here from something that rhymes with WEMA. And they're willing to talk and answer little questions, but we will have to turn all of our cameras off for that. So we'll stop the broadcast and then have a little fireside chat in just a few minutes on that one. But what I want to talk about is insurance. Jared, adjustments, insurance here. And really, because you guys are getting bombarded with policies and plates and getting claims in there. So you've got two separate issues here. You've got the insurance company saying, let's just run the route. And then you have the public adjusters that are saying, let's go work for you and see if we can beat up the insurance companies. You're the insurance broker. You're not an insurance company, right? So you're not the bad guy.
We want to give you the money too.
Yeah, you want to get the claims out too. So let's talk. It's going to be right here in just a few minutes after this, right? So let's talk about the claim. What are you seeing? What the calls you're getting? What's issues from and any insurance questions you have? And then Jared's going to tell you when you should use a private adjuster, when you're getting the runaround, and what they can do to go get you more money. Right? That's their goal, and they're incentivized because they get paid a piece of the money they give you, and you know they're well worth it in a lot of people's opinions as well. So let's talk about the insurance questions you're getting, and then we'll have Jared follow up, and then we'll finish this officially, and may or may not have a fireside chat after that.
Hey everyone, I'm Nate Coco with State Farm, just down the road. You probably drive by my office on Walsingham all the time. Just a little bit of stats. We've had about 115,000 claims just with State Farm from these two hurricanes, and that's just one company, right? So I know everyone was waiting for their cars to get towed, adjusters to come out, we're getting yelled at by everybody. Well, actually, our customers are pretty nice, but some people are not too patient. We appreciate your patience, and thanks for being so patient. We're all struggling and going through this together for the first time, and a lot of us have never had an experience like this where we've had to have so many claims and what if questions answered all at the same time. The claims world is a big gray area, as Jared, right, would agree. It's a very big gray area where insurance companies they say they want to pay what they're due and what's reasonable and customary, and those numbers don't always match up with reality or with the person actually running the numbers. And I guess some red flags I would say that I would say to look out for right now is insurance companies are going to pay what's reasonable and customary for things, right? So if you decide to go, if you decide to go do some work that is, 3 times the price of, to get this tree removed off your house, that doesn't mean the insurance company is always going to pay 3 times the price. They're going to want to justify what the actual reasonable and customary price is for something like that. And they do try to take into account what the prices surge to during storms as well. But it's not a perfect science, right? So I can answer any questions that you want within the realm of insurance. I'll do my best to help with the FEMA questions if you have any. Homeowners insurance, the difference between a flood versus wind and when a hurricane deductible. I'm sure you all are learning all this in a crash course right now because you're having to actually use your policies when a lot of people just buy these things and don't ever plan on using them. I will make one correction, and you all living on the beach don't need to know this, but ex-flood zones are still flood zones, right? There's no non-flood zones. There's just low-risk flood zones, right? My office, we're in Largo actually, right by Hammock Hardware. We're really elevated, and we got flooded with about a half-inch of water in my building, and we're in an X-flood zone, right? So, and a lot of the houses around me did too as well, and I'm probably already over $50,000 just with the 1 inch of water, and I can't imagine what you guys are all going through with multiple feet of water in your properties and whatnot. So. Does anybody have any questions for me, or maybe I'll let Jared talk a little bit about what's going on?
Question right here in the front.
Yep. So I only really work with FEMA's insurance, right? I don't know a ton about all the 50% rule. That's kind of the FEMA. I write through the National Flood Insurance Program, which is through FEMA. And they're the ones that cover $250,000 for your dwelling and up to $100,000 for your personal property, and that's what I know mostly about. Yeah, we write through Citizens for Wind, and what we've been seeing is a lot of these claims are not wind related. They're almost all being classified as flood. Wind is going to be under a separate hurricane deductible.
So if we have a State Farm broker listed on a Citizens policy.
The State Farm agent that sold you the Citizens policy is your agent, but Citizens is the company that's going to pay out the claim and adjust the claim and do everything. And we get involved. Right.
My broker says he's no longer with State Farm. Broker says he's no longer with Citizens, and he won't work with me on Citizens.
So there might be some. Hopefully you're not with my office. All right, good. All right, because we are.
At the point of, I don't want to litigate. I really want somebody to get with State Farm on my roof.
So State Farm is not going to come out. Citizens is your insurance company, and they're or right. But if you're if you want to come look, show me what you have. A lot of what's happening right now is people are in a depopulation process where they're being changed to a different insurance company from Citizens to a company like Slide. And okay. Right. So the State Farm agent's role in this matter is to help you understand your coverages, but we don't make the claims decisions. Come talk to me after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions for Nate? Yep. Come on up. Repeat that.
Yeah, the question was, well, with the 50% rule, will the insurance be impacted by the amount of the 50% rule and the structural value? I can't answer that question. There is a team of lawyers and actuaries behind the scenes on all this that know all of the ins and outs of how that's going to work. So, do you have any insight there?
I don't have the bent. I don't know.
I think we're all in a wait and see situation.
Yep.
I think getting the appraisal sounds like the right move because that's only going to help you. It'll help you give you more room under that 50%.
Assuming you want to rebuild your home, you want to get a private actual cash value, ACV appraisal on your home. And then when they come out to inspect it, you show them that, and that's going to help creep your number up as high as you can get it. Legally, of course, they're not going to stretch it, but they're going to know. They're going to bring it up because a lot of you bought your homes, you put new granite in, you put nice floors in, you put nice windows in, you spend a lot of money on your renovations, and the county doesn't necessarily know that. So that's when the actual cash value guy comes in and says, man, that was an extra exquisite slab that you bought. That was a $20,000 slab. Well, okay. What did you do here? What did you hear? That's how you get your number up. It's real. But you got to just piecemeal it up so they can say, no, this is the real, actual cash value of what was in that structure pre-storm. And then that's the number you want to get to where you want to go.
And follow the rules. If you don't do things with permits, it might save you money today, but then when you try to sell your house in a couple of years, nobody's going to insure it possibly because everything's been done by a handyman or under the table, and the insurance companies you're not going to pass the inspections in order to get the insurance to get the mortgages and whatnot. So
good deal. All right. Mr. Jared, so when you start getting a runaround with the insurance companies, and believe me, there's going to be a lot of runarounds with insurance companies because they're understaffed, overwhelmed. They're going to start hiring a bunch of people that aren't going to be qualified because there's tens of thousands of cases and they're pulling their hair out, and it's going to be aggravating. Pretty fair assessment. So that's when you get somebody on your side who could pretty much go fight for you and get you some more money. So tell them what you do, and who you are and what you do, Jared.
All right, thank you, Jeff, and Nate had some great information too. So my name's Jared Kennedy. I'm with 5 Star Claims Adjusting, and our job is to make the insurance company pay what they owe.
Closer to your mouth a little bit.
And our job is to make the insurance company pay what they owe. We're public adjusters. Whenever you file an insurance claim, the first thing the insurance company does is hire an adjuster to be their expert on the job and represent their best interests. Usually no one represents the homeowner though. That's where we come in. We're your expert. We represent your best interests. We gather the evidence and build the case for you so that you get everything that you're owed, ideally, rather than just what the insurance company wants to pay for. We charge nothing up front. Everything is paid for after the fact. And on any homeowners, on any private, on any commercial insurance claim, it always pays to have an expert in your corner. You'll almost never ever see a claim where you get everything that you're owed the first time just because you asked nicely. The insurance company is not in the business of just giving out money because you asked nicely. You have to prove every dollar, every cent. You've been making an argument, and at the end of the day, it always comes down to a negotiation with the insurance company. And yes, sometimes the insurance company is giving you the runaround. Sometimes there's poor claims handling. Sometimes the administration is poor, and you need to go in there and force the negotiation to occur, and that's where we come in. On flood claims, it's a little bit different. Dealing with government rules, government money. There might not all, while on a homeowner's claim, we 100% guarantee that every single time, you always end up with more money if you go with us than if you went on your own. Flood insurance is a little different. Sometimes there's not more money left on the table, but there is still a lot of work and a lot of money and a lot of risk to be had. Our place in the flood claim is to make sure that you don't miss out on what you're owed, that you don't fall through the gaps, that a tired, overworked flood adjuster hasn't missed out on something important and isn't shorting you anything that's you're particularly owed, or letting you fall through the gaps and have to wait weeks or months extra on top of what you already would have.
What do you charge?
So we charge nothing up front. We charge everything on contingency at the very end of your claim. If we get a recovery for you, our fee is 10% of anything we get for you. And if you have a minute, I'm going to give them a little bit of information. Do we have?
Sure, yeah.
Great. So I'm taking a second here to go over with you something that everyone's probably struggling with on their flood claim is the contents portion. The contents claim is very time consuming and very long. What your your flood adjuster is going to do is they're going to give you this thing called the contents spreadsheet. It's going to be an Excel document. If you don't have Excel, you can use Google Sheets, which is a free program that you can get from Google to help you build your spreadsheet. They're going to want to see every item in that spreadsheet lined out exactly as they asked for it. Now, obviously, in some cases, you're not going to have everything. But it's in your best interest to try to fill out that spreadsheet as perfectly as possible with everything you can get in there, and start with the most expensive items first, because you will eventually run out of patience before you run out of spreadsheet. Next to that spreadsheet, you're going to need a photo report. That photo report needs to be in the exact same order as the spreadsheet was, and ideally, you label everything in that photo report. Your photo report's going to go a little like this. With item 1 on your spreadsheet, let's say it's a couch. Your first photo on page number 1 is going to be a picture of that couch. The second photo is if that couch still has a sticker or a tag on it, or a model or a serial number somewhere. That's going to be your second picture.
You feeling that?
Your third picture is the comparable. It's going to be a listing for the item or a comparable item online that is very similar. That includes the listing, the name of the store, and the price of that item that's being sold today. Those are the three ways that, with those 3 pictures and a well-filled out content spreadsheet for every item in the correct order, that is how you get paid everything you wrote on your contents claim. And make sure that if you do have the patience for it, don't just stop at your limit. Go over the policy limit, because depreciation will be taken out of your contents claim. All right. I'm going to try and keep it short. That's all the important information that I have for you here today. Do you have a question, sir?
What do you do if you put your contents that were damaged out on the street and it's all wet?
Well, that's unfortunate.
Repeat that. The question was, what do you do if all your contents were out on the street and they've already been taken away?
All right. Well, we had 2 hurricanes very close back to back. This is a disaster relief program, and there may be some leniency. My suggestion is that you do the very best that you can. Search through whatever you can to try and find as many of the items on that spreadsheet. Get as many of those 3 pictures as you possibly can. If all you have is, I had this couch and here's a picture of what it costs now, that's better than nothing, and you might get something from that.
What do you do with, we have custom closets, and we had tons of clothing on that bottom layer. I took pictures of all that clothing.
So,
the question was, you had custom cabinet closets and you had lots of valuable clothing on the lower level that all got flooded out. What do you do with that?
So this is exactly why I wanted to have this conversation. the contents claim, doing it right, is a super pain. It is a lot of work to go item by item, and especially now that these items may have been hauled away or started to smell quite bad. It's unfortunate that I couldn't have had this conversation with each and every one of you a month ago, but for now, your best thing you can do is everything that you can do. So if you can't get a picture of every item, if you can't get a picture of every tag, if you can't, if it's all been hauled away, do the best you can, put it in the best order that you can, explain to your flood adjuster that this is all I have because, and hope for the best.
Here's the best way I like to explain how they do. Like if you were trying to sell your property on your own and somebody was trying to buy your house, you're a lot more vulnerable when you're trying to deal emotionally on your own accord. Right now, if you had me as a layer in between the buyer and you, I don't have the emotions in that transaction. I could be a prick in a negotiation to defend you and get you as much as I can. That's the role that this guy comes in at, saying, I don't want your answer. I'm not accepting your answer. This is how we're going to do it. And then they know that his company has attorneys in their back pocket. They're much more likely to agree to the report that they put together than the report that you put together. That's the value of hiring a professional to get stuff done. And I think just my simple fact is 10% is way more than, because he's going to put more stuff on that report that you forgot about putting on there that's worth more than 10%, in my personal opinion. He's doing my personal property adjustments. I hire him to do mine. And it's a smart thing to do, in my opinion. Do what you want to do, but we brought him up here because it's a valuable resource if it makes sense for you on that one. But you'll be out here for answer more questions, right?
Yeah, I'd be happy to get your individual questions here afterwards. It's 5-Star Claims Adjusting. My personal number is 321-295-6496. That's 321-295-6496. If you have any questions, the claim review is always free.
Good deal. All right, let's talk Kathy McKinnon, last but not least. For people who are going to decide to sell their properties and do stuff and aren't using real estate people, they still need somebody in the title world. You guys have really good offers right now, so tell them real quickly what that is.
Okay, everybody. I know a lot of you. I've been there with you guys for many, many years. I've lived on this beach for 40 years, and I've been flooded 4 times without everything, losing everything. But anyway, I just want you to know that these scammers are out there. They're writing up contracts. They're coming up with briefcases full of money. They are offering quitclaim deeds, etc., etc. Do not do a thing till you call me. These things, these contracts they write are assignable. So as you're signing a contract with them, they're already selling the house to somebody else. They're never going to go to the closing table. You will never see them there. And half the time it's done illegally. So we will be coming back at you 20 years from now, 5 years from now, 6 months from now, asking you to re-sign everything and do it right, and you're going to find out you got ripped off. So what I'm doing here is trying to tell you guys, please do not do anything until you contact any one of us that has spoken today. And me, I will do the closings. I will make sure they're done legally. And I'm also offering to any one of you all that do decide to sell and get out of Dodge that I'm going to give you a 10% discount on the title premium for hurricane victims. I don't want you all to get ripped off. I've been here in your position. I know how you feel. It's horrible, just horrible. So I want you to know you can call me at any time. My number is on the flyer here, but it's Kathy Mack or Kathy McKinnon at 727-430-8974. And if you do decide to get out of Dodge, please contact me. I will help you. All right? So take care and hang in there. I know what it's like, but you'll get through it. I made it through 4 times, and I'm here to say that it's a horrible experience. I understand. So call me.
Thank you, Kathy. All right. Anyone who put your name down on the paper for follow-up for any of these items, you will be reached out to tomorrow probably by Bob Dean over here, who's just independent to help this work out. I want to wrap up with something, and pay attention to this, guys. This is really important. Nobody's going to get out of Dodge. Just don't, right? We're going to get through this. This has never been, let's look at the positives about what's going on. This community is unbelievable. How it pulls together in these type of times is it's amazing, right? We're all going through crap, and there's no other way to say it. But we're going to get through it. I can tell you that it's going to pass. No storm lasts that long, right? Before you know it, there'll be some green popping back up. You're starting to see little blooms here and there. Things will get cleaned up. The weather will be fine, right? We're all going to figure this out. The inspections will go. Your houses will be back together. Their houses are going to, I can just tell you from a value perspective, some good news. It's about 14 months from the date of an impact until values come back to where they were beforehand. And I can tell you that in about 3 years from now, prices will be about double what they are today. It happens every time with every impact, everywhere across the board. So it's going to happen. So please please don't do anything. It's a proven fact. It works in every single impacted area. We will be that way. We've got the experience down in our Fort Myers offices. The values are double what they were 3 years ago. And so please, take a deep breath. Know that we're all going to get through this. This community is here. If anybody struggles with anything, reach out to any one of us, because you know we all have each other's backs. And what's that? Just hold on. Hold on. Take a deep breath. No reactions, no knee-jerk reactions, no emotional fire sales. Take a deep breath. Come talk with somebody. If anybody's ever in a bind, and you feel like you have no way out, then reach out to somebody, because we're going to help you see there's plenty of ways out. And you've got an amazing asset. You've got a great community, and we're going to be back better and stronger than we ever have been before. But we're only going to do it with everybody's help and being patient and being appreciative and realizing that no one's been here, there's no playbook, and everyone's figuring it out on its own. So let's put hands together for everybody, the whole panelists today who showed up, for you guys for coming. We will post this out, IRB Home, probably on the Facebook page, on our personal ones. There'll be a YouTube video on this one if you want to share this with people that wish they could come. And then you'll have all of our contacts on this paperwork, and we're here, guys. So we got this. Take a deep breath, and we will get through it all together. So take a deep breath. We got you guys. So thank you guys very much.